Well, hello. I am back from vacation. Hilton Head did some college touring, which was interesting for my son and daughter. They're going to be a junior and sophomore in college, so we kind of ad-libbed it and checked out some of those ACC and schools along the East Coast, and that was fun. Finished up at Virginia Tech yesterday, came home. I am refreshed, ready to rock, and a couple things happened while I was gone, and I'm going to address that right off the bat here. Is not a big deal, but they signed the first round pick Jones. They signed Benton. It used to be when I was a kid. I can remember when it was a big deal when you signed your picks. Now it's just you slot them in over. There you have it. But they also moved on from Anthony Miller, which I'm going to talk about in the second half of the podcast, and added Nick Kwiatkoski. I still don't say his name, properly. I'm sitting here looking at the exact bio from when he came out of school, and it's a pretty easy one, Matt. You should no reservations here. No excuses why you can't say this guy's name correctly. Kwiatkoski. Well, he's a WVU guy, local ties to some degree. He was actually a safety and wide receiver in high school, turned linebacker. And that's a little bit of a misnomer in that you would think, oh, he must be a phenomenal athlete like Keanu Neal or one of these, safety turned linebacker types. That's not what Kwiatkoski is. He's much more a Landon Roberts than he is Ryan Shazier or Kendrell Bell. He's a big body dude that is not at all bashful about throwing it around. At his combine, he was 6'2", so he does have good height, good arm, decent enough arm length. It's 243. I mean, he put on a lot of good weight at college. Tough guy, leader, all those cliches. He's a banger. He's a downhill player. He's not a sideline to sideline linebacker. His change of direction is fine, not great. He's physical. I like him. I mean, he's fine. I mean, I think what this tells us more than anything is you always, I told you this before, I wrote an article a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago that you have to cut corner places. And I think linebackers where they're cutting corners, that deep down, I think they really are fond and think that they got a dude in Cole Holcomb. And I think he'll be the every down linebacker. And maybe they got him at a little cheaper rate than they would have if he wasn't coming off an injury. But I think he's hitting the right part of his career. And frankly, I think the second linebacker, don't even think about a third guy, guys. No one plays three linebackers on the field hardly at all, is going to be a rotation. I think it's going to be Kwiatkoski battling Roberts for the big banger downhill guy next to Holcomb. And I think those guys will leave the field for Muse or maybe Robinson. Robinson's the wild card, or Neal or somebody like that situationally, So I think you'll see a lot of snaps of linebackers not named Holcomb, with Holcomb hopefully, assuming he plays, stays healthy, playing 1,000 snaps, where other guys are all, hey, he chipped in 300, he chipped in 200, he chipped in 500. Maybe they're all placeholders for Robinson. Maybe. I mean, that's wishful thinking. I think Robinson will be highly, highly used in the preseason, see how he handles it. But maybe they're just placeholders waiting on him and they're super optimistic about Robinson. Maybe, But again, that's way putting the cart before the horse, in my opinion, with Robinson. So anyways, back to Kwiatkoski. I didn't think this was true, but he was a Falcon last year and played 0 defensive snaps for them. Now, they did put some money in the linebacker position there, so it was you wouldn't think this, but their linebacker unit is pretty loaded. Olakon, Anderson, so they got dudes. But he did play special teams for them. The year before that with Vegas, he only played 67 defensive snaps. That was 2021. But previous to that, when healthy, he was a 400 to 650 snap guy, mostly with the Bears for the duration of his rookie contract. Went to Vegas after that. He's going to be a core special teamer, though. And one of my homework assignments that I'm going to look into is who are we counting on now as the core special teamers? Like Benny Snell was one of those guys. He's gone. That changes year to year. Seems like there's more change this year than usual. Like Killebrew is going to be one. Like, who do I know is going to be a core special teamer? I'm almost certain this guy will be. It's fine. I mean, he'll make some big plays. He'll be easy to root for. He doesn't move the needle all that much, but I understand it. I mean, I think that the idea of going and getting a big fish at linebacker probably is gone now. You're going to kind of live with these dudes, hope that they make more splash plays than last year's unit that did nothing. But it wouldn't shock me if there's only one answer of all these linebacker options, Holcomb and maybe Robinson, but it's probably a better chance that there's zero. I mean, in terms of the next Shazier or something crazy like that. But they'll be fine. I think the defensive front is good. I think the secondary is good. And I think the linebacking unit is going to be a weakness of the team. But I also think there's a chance that they think they snuck something past the league on Holcomb, and maybe they have high hopes for Robinson. So we'll see. I want to talk Anthony Miller because that one shocked me, but I started to understand it a little bit more on the backside of this. Back in a minute. So I'm sure you guys are aware that it's rare, not that it was huge money, but as soon as they could, they signed Miller to a contract. So I thought, they like him. I loved watching him, and before he got hurt, I've liked his career. I've talked about Miller to you guys a lot. So I kind of thought he was pretty close to a lock to making the team. I guess I'm wrong. I mean, since then, they've obviously traded for Allen Robinson. They've brought back Boykin. They've had minicamp. And maybe they look at him now and think, boy, he's going to have a tough time making this team. Now, I was wrong. I'm just going to say what I was thinking. I didn't write this or say anything about this, but Miller's had a bit of a strange career, especially with Houston, where he didn't last. And I thought his play on the field was always better than his job security. So deep down, I kind of thought, does he have some issues? Does he not work and play well with others? Do they not want him in the sandbox? And I was wrong. That's not the case at all. I mean, just reading the tea leaves, I thought maybe that's a possibility with this guy. It's kind of quite the opposite. Is Austin, they both went to Memphis, greatly looks up to him. Big time locker room guy. I guess while he was injured last year, he still was around the team. Very well respected, hard worker. So they kind of did him a favor and said, we're going to let you go now as opposed to final cuts because you've got a better chance of sticking on somewhere else. And I look at that as, you guys know I can't stand Gunner. Well, that was pretty mean. I don't mean it to that degree. Gunner's not for me, especially on offense. But I think it's somewhat of a feather in his cap, but more so probably Boykin, for that 5th or 6th wide receiver spot. But I also think really what what this is telling us is, and they've kind of made this clear with who they've trotted out there, is I think they want their slot receiver to be a big-bodied guy. Like, you're probably going, well, what about Austin? Austin can line up in the slot, but Austin was like 93% of his snaps at college were outside the numbers. He's not just a slot guy. And I think the Steelers look at him as more of an outside-the-numbers speed dude than Welker, Edelman. You know what I mean? Claypool was the slot. Then they go trade for Robinson, who's going to be the slot. Could Boykin do some of that? I think so. And where I'm going with this is just Miller doesn't fit the big slot mentality. I mean, they want a 6'3" dude that'll spring guys in the run game, that'll go up and be big in the middle of the field. Middle of the field was an issue for them. So I think the more prototypical, thicker built, shorter, slot guy just isn't what they're after, and that's one of the things I try to pride myself on is get in the head of these teams. Why would you cut a decent player that might make your team? I just don't think that's what they're looking for at the position now. I think they were happy to sign him at a cheap deal then and have since added dudes they like more. So that's my take on Miller. These aren't huge moves, but it was a little surprising reading that wasn't surprised that they signed a linebacker at all. But I was a little surprised that Miller was the one let go. I mentioned the 2 draft picks signed. I have to double check this, but I still think they have about $12 million in cap space. So there's moves to be made if needed. They can roll it over to next year. Going to extend Highsmith, I imagine. So team's starting to round into shape. Not a lot of action at the moment, but that's a wrap for today. I will be back. Over and out.